bought my Caravan in 2017. The previous owners painted the Caravan to make it all look lovely for obviously selling it, but they used the wrong paint when they painted the van. And so about 12 to 24 months after I purchased it, the Caravan paint actually started to become really chalky and peeled away. I wanted the exterior of the van to look really nice, especially given that it's a 40-year-old van and it actually has quite a few dents here and there. I feel like having a nice new coat of paint really brings these old vintage vans to life. But unfortunately, this project has taken me 2 years. So when I first started removing the paint off the Caravan, I actually used an orbital sander, but I found that was a really slow way of removing the paint. It would take a really long time in one spot just to bring it really back to the metal. So I decided to use a wire brush on a drill instead, and I found that actually worked really well. I found with the wire brush it also helped get into all the trim around the Caravan to grind out old sealant, allowing me to actually reseal the whole Caravan, making it watertight again. But then I ended up getting tendonitis in my elbow because it was such a repetitive motion that I was doing. I decided to see if I could get some tradespeople to come out and help me, but everyone proved to be really expensive and I just didn't want to fork out the money to pay someone to do something I felt like I could actually do. So I just put it off for a little while. Then I found someone who did vapor blasting and I had him come out and attempt to vapor blast the paint off the exterior of the van, but unfortunately that was too powerful for the exterior cladding. It's only 3mm thick and it was actually dinting the exterior cladding a little bit, so he immediately stopped and said, we're not going to be able to do this. So after that I felt really disappointed and kind of gave up on it for about 6 months, which brought us to December 2021. I was moving forward with removing the paint, but decided to use paint stripper instead. And to be honest, if I could go back to myself in the beginning of this entire project, I would just use paint stripper. So there's 3 parts left to the Caravan that I'm yet to paint strip, and that is underneath here on both ends of the Caravan, so just above this window, there's like a section here that I have to paint strip, and then also the drawbar as well. Underneath the Caravan doesn't actually have any paint on the chassis, and the next project after painting it will be actually getting underneath the Caravan, getting rid of some surface rust, and probably giving it a paint job underneath as well just to protect the chassis. I actually had the auto electrics on the Caravan all redone, it would have been probably 2018, but when I was installing some of the floor planks, unfortunately I had to disconnect where, I don't know the correct terminology for it, but the cords here that plug into the car, I had to disconnect that. So before I actually go on the road with the Caravan one day, I'm going to have all the, not all the auto electrics, but all of this section here redone. So about a month ago, I actually bought this lock so that people can't steal the Caravan if I'm not here, or if I am here. And this is literally a month old, and this is the key for the lock. And the key's going in. It had a hard time going in. It was all rusted up. And now it's not turning. So I'm gonna have to probably find some kind of WD-40 product to spray in here and hopefully get it off, because I can't move the Caravan to paint it because I can't paint it under the trees. I have to move it up there. So once I finished all this work today, I can't even move the van to be able to paint it. Okay, so I'm going to spray the key as well, and in there. Let's hope that works. Give it a jiggle. Nope. So these will probably, I don't know, maybe need to be replaced at some point. They're really old. They're like the original ones. That should be good for that side. I'll just go and do the other side, because this will have to be moved in the next, well, if everything goes to plan, the next little while. Bloody lock. So yeah, as you can see, the key goes all the way in. It can't actually go in any further, and it's just not turning. Maybe I'll try Maybe there's some grit, who knows. Goes in, just doesn't twist. It's such a pain. Like, what am I doing wrong? Come on. So I've just watched some YouTube videos on how to deal with this lock, and basically they said, one person said, put some WD-40 in it and then it worked perfectly for him, but that's not the case for me. So I'm actually going to leave that, and I figured I can paint strip this little section at a later time. It would take me 5 minutes potentially, and I'm just going to get on with work today and do the rest of this straw bar here. If you're planning on painting a caravan, firstly I'd recommend paying a professional. This has got to be one of the hardest things that I've ever done in my entire life. I was quoted around $12,000 to pay a professional to do this for me, but of course 12 grand is a lot of money to me, so that's why I decided to just do it myself. Secondly, if you're going to paint your caravan, it's recommended to remove the existing paint, giving the new paint a clean surface to adhere to. This may seem like a daunting task, but trust me, it's necessary to achieve the best result. As I explained, I've tried a few different methods to remove the paint, but my go-to now is just using paint stripper and a drill with a wire brush to get into the trim. While you're at it, I also recommend resealing the entire van. This is especially important for older vans. Once the resealing is done, make sure you replace any missing rivets and use aluminium rivets if the cladding is aluminium. Steel and aluminium shouldn't be used together as they have a chemical reaction, I've been told. I also removed a few screws on the exterior of the caravan that didn't really hold a purpose anymore, that once attached an awning to the caravan. I used a metal bog to fix dents and plug unwanted holes. I also removed the trim from the windows so I could sand underneath, allowing the new paint job to get in nice and close. Once it's all painted, I'll reseal these windows and fix new trim. Now it's time for the sanding process. I started with 120 grit sandpaper on an orbital sander to make sure the surface feels smooth and I haven't missed any chunks of paint. Then I used 1000 grit sandpaper by hand and I went over it again to give the surface an even smoother finish. After that, I high pressure hose the entire van to remove any remaining grime and dust from sanding. Next, I'll be wiping the van over with a degreasing agent before I finally paint the caravan. See you guys in my next episode.